That little label on your salmon, the one that says RSPCA Assured, higher welfare, responsibly farmed, it's supposed to mean somebody checked. It's the reason a fillet with that logo can cost more than one without it, and the reason most shoppers walk past it and feel slightly better about the purchase. In May 2026, a UK watchdog forced regulators to release the inspection reports they'd been sitting on for years. What was in them didn't match the label. Not close. Here's the industry's own number, from the Scottish Government's own 2024 Fish Farm Production Survey. 21.1 million farmed salmon from a single year's stock never reached harvest, lost at sea to death, disease culls and escapes combined. That not harvested rate across the sector that year was 38%. Since 1984, close to a third of 1 billion salmon have died on Scottish farms before slaughter. That's not one bad site. That's the industry norm, and it's been sitting in government data the whole time, published, footnoted, largely unread. This isn't even a new pattern. Back in 2018, a separate investigation found Aldi, Co-op, Lidl, Morrison's, M&S, Sainsbury's and Tesco were all sourcing from firms already flagged for poor welfare records, high mortality and seal shootings. Nothing about the underlying model has changed since. We're going through 3 supermarkets whose named suppliers were caught on camera in the last few months, worst to best. Then we'll get into why the label on the pack didn't warn you about any of it. Number 3. Sainsbury's. In December 2025, the charity Animal Equality filmed inside Scalpay Farm, run by Moe, a confirmed Sainsbury's supplier. The footage showed salmon with severe sea lice damage, open wounds and fish that appeared to be blind over several months of observation, not a single bad day. Moe is the world's largest salmon farming company, supplying Tesco and Asda, as well as Sainsbury's, so this isn't a small or obscure operator cutting corners to survive. Sainsbury's own website says 100% of its farmed seafood is independently certified to a credible aquaculture standard, and the company has previously said it was first to sell RSPCA Freedom Food, now RSPCA Assured, loch trout. Moe runs its Scottish sites, including Scalpay, under that same certification framework. Number 2. Marks & Spencer. The same investigation filmed 2 further sites, Carrera B and Schooner Point, both run by Scottish Sea Farms, M&S's primary salmon supplier. Same conditions. Visible deformities, open wounds, advanced parasite damage, consistent with the pattern found at Scalpay. M&S's own website states that 100% of its salmon and trout is certified to RSPCA Assured standards, sold under the Lochmuir brand, and describes the fish as reared on award-winning farms, with husbandry, approved by RSPCA Freedom Food. Lochmuir isn't a real place. It's a name invented by M&S's own marketing team, confirmed as far back as 2006, and it's still the brand on the packet today. Industry-wide, more than 10 million farmed salmon died on Scottish farms between January and October 2025 alone, before ever reaching a slaughterhouse. If this is changing how you look at that little welfare logo, A-like helps more people see it before their next shop. Number 1. Co-op. Feunary Farm, also run by Scottish Sea Farms, supplies Scottish salmon, sold at the Co-op, and, alongside Carrera B and Schooner Point, feeds into the same M&S supply chain. Between 16th February and 5th April 2026, Feunary recorded 45,684 salmon deaths, 7 consecutive weeks of elevated mortality, with cardiomyopathy syndrome, a viral heart disease with no vaccine, confirmed as the leading cause. In the week Animal Equality's drone footage was filmed in March 2026, the site lost 5,941 fish in 7 days. Sea lice levels hit 2.73 per fish against an industry limit of 0.5 during the exact weeks Scotland requires farms to stay under it to protect wild juvenile salmon migrating past. Feunary then went 3 weeks without submitting a lice count at all. Co-op responded by saying it was engaging urgently with its supplier to understand the full picture. Co-op only found out and only responded after campaigners published the footage. That's 3 of Britain's most recognised supermarkets, 3 different named farms, 1 shared pattern, certified, marketed as high welfare, and filmed in the same state regardless. Here's why the label doesn't catch any of this. A 2023 investigation into the RSPCA Assured, ASC and Soil Association organic certification schemes found none of them sets a maximum death rate. Farms reporting monthly mortality as high as 74% could still carry the RSPCA Assured high welfare mark. In September 2024, after separate footage showed salmon suffocating in nets and buckets on farms run by Mowi, Scottish Sea Farms and Bakkafrost, RSPCA Assured did suspend all 3 sites, proving the scheme can act. But it only acted after a charity's drone footage went public, not from its own inspections. Government oversight fares worse. A Freedom of Information request by Animal Equality found the regulator responsible for these farms, APHA, carried out 0 unannounced inspections in 2023, 0 again in 2025, and just 2 in 2024, despite the industry recording 35,867,788 deaths across those 3 years. Only 21 of Scotland's 213 salmon farms were inspected at all in that period. None of the 20 worst-performing sites, together responsible for more than 10 million of those deaths, received any inspection whatsoever. When APHA was asked to justify withholding its reports, it argued that releasing them would harm the company's ability to manage their reputation. Protecting reputation, not investigating deaths, was the stated reason for the secrecy. The Information Commissioner's Office rejected that argument and forced APHA to release its withheld reports in May 2026. They showed a Mowi site where over 1 million fish died from a hydrogen sulfide buildup in 10 hours, and a Bakkafrost site, certified RSPCA, where 600,000 fish died the same way, followed months later by a repeat that killed 1.5 million more. At a third site, Cook Aquaculture's Ausnes Farm in Orkney, 123,000 fish died within 6 weeks of stocking in a 2022 storm. But because deaths in a fish's first 6 weeks at sea don't have to be reported at all, nobody was told at the time. By the time APHA finally checked months later, the toll had passed 200,000, and there's still no record that anyone actually visited the site. No enforcement action was taken over any of these incidents. So the label on your salmon fillet reflects a scheme with no death rate ceiling, policed by a regulator that barely inspects, whose own withheld records had to be prized out by a watchdog ruling. That's not a paperwork problem. That's the entire premise of responsibly sourced collapsing the moment anyone actually checks. It's also worth being clear about what these fish were dying of, because it isn't abstract. Sea lice are parasites that eat salmon alive, working through skin and flesh while the fish is still swimming, and they're a direct consequence of crowding large numbers of fish together in open-net sea cages. Cardiomyopathy syndrome, the disease behind the Co-op outbreak, is a viral heart condition with no vaccine and no treatment. Farms can only wait it out and count the losses. Hydrogen sulfide, the cause behind the 1 million fish and 1.5 million fish die-offs at the Mowi and Bakkafrost sites named in the released reports, is a different failure mode again. Those were land-based hatchery sites, where waste builds up in tanks and pipework faster than the system can clear it, and kills by suffocation within hours. None of this is a freak accident. Sea cages breed parasites and disease through overcrowding. Hatcheries fail through the same underlying pressure to run high-density systems as cheaply as possible. Different setting, same root cause, and between them, they cover almost every stage a salmon fillet on a UK supermarket shelf has passed through. Now, we can't hand you a clean supermarket to switch to, because nobody has independently tested one yet. Every major UK chain buys from the same small pool of Scottish producers, and the specific farms named here supply more than one retailer between them. What we can tell you: farmed salmon sits high on the marine food chain, so the welfare and disease pressure documented here is close to unavoidable if you're buying standard fresh or frozen fillets from any of the big farming groups. Wild-caught Pacific salmon, sold tinned in most UK supermarkets and carrying the blue MSC tick, comes from a fundamentally different system with no cages, no lice treatments, and no mass mortality events to hide, because there's no farm for any of that to happen on. Loch Duart, a smaller independent Scottish producer using lower stocking densities, has not appeared in any of the investigations covered here, though that's an absence of evidence, not the same as a clean bill of health, and we'd say so if it were. So here's the rule to take to the shop with you. A certification logo tells you a scheme exists, not that anyone is currently meeting it, and not that anyone checked recently. If you want farmed salmon, look past the badge and ask what the mortality rate actually was, because none of the big three schemes will stop a farm from selling to you over that alone. Or skip farmed salmon at the fresh counter entirely and reach for the tin with the MSC tick instead. To recap, Sainsbury's, sourcing from Moe's Scalpay Farm, filmed with lice damage and blind fish. M&S, sourcing from Scottish Sea Farms Carrera B and Shuna Point, same conditions, despite the 100% welfare claim on its own website. Co-op, sourcing from Scottish Sea Farms Funeri, an active disease outbreak with lice levels over 5 times the legal limit. All 3 certified. None of it caught by the label, the certifier, or the regulator, only by campaigners with a drone. If this changed how you look at the fish counter, tell us in the comments which supermarket surprised you most. And if you think farmed salmon is the only healthy choice, hiding something you weren't told, wait until you see what's really inside a loaf of supermarket bread. That one's still coming.